10 days from now, Jerome Powell steps down as chairman of the Federal Reserve, and what has happened in the months leading up to that handoff is one of the most serious attacks on an independent institution in modern American history. Let me walk you through this carefully, because the details here matter more than the headlines suggest. Powell's term as Fed chair expires May 15th. Trump nominated Kevin Warsh to replace him. That part is normal. Presidents nominate Fed chairs. That's how it works. But what happened between Trump and Powell over the past year is not normal, not even close. The Trump administration opened a criminal investigation into Powell. A grand jury issued subpoenas to the Federal Reserve. The stated basis was a renovation of the Fed's headquarters building, a $2.5 billion project that had been ongoing for years. But a federal judge in March quashed those subpoenas, and his reasoning was direct. He wrote that there was abundant evidence the subpoena's dominant purpose was to harass and pressure Powell either to yield to the president or to resign and make way for a Fed chair who will. He continued, the government has offered no evidence whatsoever that Powell committed any crime other than displeasing the president. Read that again. A federal judge wrote in a formal court ruling that the only crime Jerome Powell appeared to have committed was displeasing Donald Trump. The Department of Justice eventually dropped the investigation last month. But Powell announced he will stay on the Fed's Board of Governors even after stepping down as chair. His term as a board member runs until January 2028. And by staying, he is for the moment denying Trump a majority on the board. Trump's response was to warn he would fire Powell if he stayed, a move that would almost certainly face a lengthy legal challenge, because the law has historically protected Fed governors from being removed without cause. Now, here is why all of this connects directly to what ordinary Americans are living right now. The Federal Reserve sets interest rates. It manages inflation. It is the institution that stands between a stable economy and a currency in free fall. Its independence from political pressure is not a technicality. It is the reason lenders around the world trust U.S. financial instruments. It is the reason the dollar remains the world's reserve currency. It is the mechanism by which the government can respond to economic crisis without being accused of printing money for political purposes. Gas is at $4.46 a gallon right now. Inflation is being nudged upward by the Iran war. The economy is absorbing the shock of tariffs, a military blockade, and rising energy costs simultaneously. This is precisely the moment when you need a Federal Reserve that can make independent decisions based on data, not on what the president wants to hear. Kevin Warsh told senators during his confirmation hearing that he would act independently, that Trump never asked him to commit to rate cuts, that he would not take marching orders from the president, and maybe that's true. But the process that got us here, the criminal investigation of a sitting Fed chair, the pressure campaign, the threats, that process sends a message to every future Fed official about what happens when you don't give the president what he wants. Powell called the administration's legal actions unprecedented in the Fed's history. He said his concern was about a series of illegal attacks on the Fed that threaten its ability to conduct monetary policy without considering political factors. He said those attacks were battering the institution, a man who has spent years protecting the independence of the institution that protects your savings, your mortgage rate, your cost of borrowing, described what has been done to that institution as illegal attacks. And he said it out loud at a press conference as the outgoing chair. That is not a partisan statement. Jerome Powell was originally appointed by Trump in 2018. He was confirmed by the Senate 84-13. He is not a political figure. He is a central banker who spent years navigating a pandemic, a historic inflation surge, and the most volatile economic period in a generation. And the administration tried to criminally indict him for displeasing the president. 10 days from now, he hands over the keys. what happens next to the Federal Reserve and to the economy it is supposed to protect is a question every American has a stake in, whether they know it or not. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. And if this is something people need to understand before May 15th, send it to someone.